They howled like wolves. They bit the rims of their shields. They charged without armor, foaming at the mouth, and felt no pain from blade or fire. For 1,000 years, the explanation was simple: a mushroom, a red and white toadstool eaten before battle. That explanation held for 200 years. Then modern science reopened the case, and almost every part of the story fell apart. A shield groans under the pressure of human teeth. Blood streaks down the wood. The warrior's eyes are wild, unfocused, fixed on something beyond the living. He howls, a sound closer to animal than man, echoing across the frozen ground. The sagas call it bita skjoldin, shield biting. It is the act that marks the berserker apart, a ritual of violence before the first sword is drawn. In the skaldic verses of the 9th century, berserkers are not just fighters, they are storms unleashed. One stanza tells of men who roar before the battle and bite their shields, blood shining on their faces. In another, warriors are described as mad as wolves, strong as bears, unhurt by fire or iron. The words repeat across sagas and poems, always the same: shield biting, howling, a trance that strips away pain and fear. In Egil's saga, a champion named Bersi strikes down 3 men at once. He does not flinch when a sword cuts his arm. He does not notice the wound. His blood runs hot, his mind lost to the red haze of battle. Grettir's saga tells of Thorir, whose roar alone sends enemies fleeing. Hrolf Kraki's men stand at the front lines, biting their shields, foaming at the mouth, waiting for the moment to break the enemy line. Pain is nothing. Fire is nothing. Only the frenzy matters. The berserker becomes something more than human, at least for a moment, but the same fury that terrifies enemies also unsettles neighbors. When the battle ends, the wildness does not always fade. The line between hero and outcast grows thin, and the society that once needed berserkers begins to fear what it has created. A king's court prized the berserker's rage. In the heat of battle, these men were the sharpest weapon a ruler could wield, sent forward to break enemy lines, to terrify with howls and the crack of teeth on wood. Yet when the swords were sheathed and the fields grew quiet, the same men became a problem no one wanted to face. Neighbors whispered about the ones who could not turn off the fury. In the sagas, a berserker who lost control might kill at random or threaten his own kin. The wildness that made him valuable on the battlefield made him dangerous at home. Medieval law codes responded with harsh clarity. The Icelandic Gragars, written in the 12th century, lists going berserk as a crime punishable by exile. No trial, no mercy, just a sentence of outlawry, stripping the offender of all rights. The Gulathing and Frostathing laws, compiled in Norway a century earlier, echo the same warning. A man who goes berserk is outside the law, hunted if necessary. These clauses appear in the oldest surviving manuscripts, showing a society struggling to contain what it once celebrated. The paradox is stark. Kings needed berserkers, but ordinary people feared them. The very traits that made these warriors legends also made them outcasts. The written laws, copied from oral tradition, reveal a community divided, admiring the berserker's strength, yet dreading the cost of his presence. This contradiction lingers in every line of the legal codes, pressing for an answer. What could drive a man to such extremes, and why did the same society that honored him also cast him out? In 1784, a Swedish theologian named Samuel Odman sat down to write a short essay for a scholarly journal. He had never seen a Viking battle, nor handled a berserker's shield, but in a few careful paragraphs, he made a guess that would echo for centuries. Odman proposed that the secret of the berserker's fury lay in a mushroom, the red and white fly agaric, Amanita muscaria. He drew his connection not from any Viking source, but from reports of Siberian shamans who used the same mushroom in distant rituals. There was no evidence, no test, and no mention of mushrooms in the sagas themselves. Still, the idea was published in the Royal Swedish Academy's Miscellany, and from there it began to travel. 19th century folklorists repeated Oddman's claim in encyclopedias and popular histories. Jacob Grimm noted it in his Germanic mythology, and John Lubbock listed the mushroom among wild plants used for courage. By the 20th century, the fly agaric theory had become a fixture in textbooks, documentaries, and even children's books about Vikings. Each retelling cited the last, rarely returning to the original pamphlet or asking if the claim had ever been tested. The story's appeal was obvious, a single, exotic substance that could explain the wildest tales of the North. But as the mushroom theory gained ground, no one stopped to ask why a guess from 1784 was treated as fact. The next step would come not from storytellers, but from scientists willing to test the mushroom's effects in the real world. Amanita muscaria, the fly agaric, holds a strange place in the story of the Berserker. Its red cap and white spots are unmistakable, but when toxicologists began to test its effects, the evidence told a different story than the sagas. The active compounds muscimol and ibotenic acid do not create rage or sharpen the senses. Instead, they slow the body down. Clinical records describe sedation, confusion, and loss of coordination. Victims stumble, their limbs heavy. Some slip into a trance and are unable to move or speak. Others vomit or collapse, their muscles refusing to obey. High doses can bring vivid hallucinations, but these are dreamlike, not violent. The most common outcome is ataxia, a staggering gait, not a battle charge. In rare cases, brief agitation appears, but it quickly gives way to stupor or sleep. Poisoning reports from hospitals and ethnographies from Siberia agree. The power of the mushroom lies in its ability to numb, not to ignite. Shamans use it to enter trance, to leave the world behind, not to fight. No clinical report describes a person who under its influence becomes immune to pain and launches a coordinated attack. The mushroom theory cannot account for shield biting, for pain resistance, or for the sustained ferocity described in the old poems. The saga symptoms do not match the clinical profile. The hunt for the true agent must look elsewhere. Henbane, a wild plant of northern Europe, releases a storm inside the body. Skin flushes and burns, sweat beads across the brow. The heart hammers against the ribs, fast and uneven. Muscles tense, teeth grind, and a bitter taste rises at the back of the throat. Tropane alkaloids sweep through the bloodstream, stripping away pain and fear. The mouth foams, lips drawn back in a snarl. Hallucinations twist the world. Enemies become monsters. Shadows writhe and leap. The mind fractures, trapped between rage and vision. When the fury passes, collapse follows. Days may pass before strength returns. Every symptom matches the sagas, line by line. In the damp earth of Firkat, a grave opens onto a different story. Oak boards form a wagon coffin, a burial reserved for someone of rank. Silver toe rings glint at the feet, the only pair of their kind found in Viking Denmark. A bronze bowl from distant Central Asia rests beside the bones, a sign of wide-reaching trade and wealth. Near the hands, a slender metal wand lies etched with symbols, an object of ritual, not war. But the most telling item is a small leather pouch, pressed flat by centuries, filled with hundreds of black henbane seeds. This was not the grave of a warrior, but of a woman who held knowledge over poison and trance. The tools of her craft suggest she measured, prepared, and dispensed the substance that could unmake a man's fear. In this burial, chemical theory finds its anchor. The Berserkers' rage was not a myth, and it did not arise by accident. Geneticists trace the DNA of Viking warriors buried across Scandinavia. The results show no unique markers, no vanished tribe. Berserkers share the same ancestry as the farmers in the next valley. The bloodlines continue, ordinary and unbroken. The difference was never in their genes. Today, the true Berserker remains hidden in plain sight, an ordinary man transformed by ritual and chemistry. Institutions still shape our extremes, often without our notice. The line between myth and engineered reality is thin. What we believe about the past shapes how we see ourselves now. Share your thoughts below.